Name's Ralph Furley, the man announced, stepping into the apartment without an invitation. Landlord, resident manager, and bachelor at large. I run a tight ship, ladies. No leaks, no squeaks, and absolutely no hanky-panky. Jack emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. Hi, I'm Jack. I'm the, third girl. Furley squinted at Jack. Roper mentioned you, Tripper, right? He said you were a bit of a flower. Well, as long as you keep the noise down, I don't care what kind of bouquets you're putting together. The tension in the room was palpable. Janet and Chrissy exchanged a look. They had survived the Ropers, but Furley was a different breed of eccentric. He didn't seem mean-spirited, just desperately convinced of his own charisma. We're actually having a sale today, Mr. Furley, Janet said, trying to steer the conversation toward the garage to help with the transition. The Ropers left a lot behind. Ah, the spoils of war, Furley chuckled, his eyes wandering to a lamp Jack had brought up from the garage. It was an atrocity of ceramic, a hula girl, whose grass skirt served as the fringe of the shade. Luau Lulu. I haven't seen one of these since my days in the Merchant Marines. It's rare. It's exotic. I must have it. It's yours for $10, Jack said quickly. 10? For a masterpiece? Furley reached into his pocket and pulled out a wad of bills. I'll give you 20. It'll look perfect next to my velvet painting of a matador. As Furley left, clutching the lamp like a long-lost child, the trio slumped onto the sofa. We're safe, Chrissy breathed. He likes the lamp. For now, Jack muttered. But did you see the way he looked at the kitchen? I think he suspects the soufflé isn't the only thing rising in this apartment. Chapter 3. The Shadow of the Law. Just as they thought they could breathe, the universe threw a curveball. The following afternoon, while Jack was at cooking school, two men in identical charcoal suits and narrow ties knocked on the door. They didn't look like junk dealers or leisure suit enthusiasts. They looked like the end of the world. FBI, the taller one said, flashing a badge. We're looking for a Jack Tripper. Janet felt the color drain from her face. Jack? What did he do? It's a federal matter, the agent replied, his voice like cold gravel. Does the name Benjamin Miller mean anything to you? Chrissy, who had been lurking by the kitchen, chimed in. It's a man, ma'am, the agent said, unamused. When Jack finally returned home, Janet and Chrissy practically tackled him. The FBI was here, Janet hissed. They're looking for you, and someone named Ben Miller. Jack's face went pale. Bippo? They're looking for Bippo Miller? He sank into a chair, his hands trembling. I knew it. It's the poker debt. Or worse, it's the separation camp. He explained, his voice hushed, about his final weeks in the Navy. He had played a high-stakes poker game with a man named Bippo Miller, who worked in the personnel office. Bippo had owed Jack $100 and had paid him by moving his discharge date up by a week. I'm a deserter, Jack wailed, clutching a throw pillow. I'm AWOL. They're going to send me to Leavenworth. I'll be making big rocks into little rocks. I'll have to wear stripes. Stripes make me look fat, Janet. Jack, calm down, Janet pleaded. Maybe it's a mistake. The FBI doesn't make mistakes. They make arrests. For the next 48 hours, apartment 201 became a fortress of paranoia. Every time the doorbell rang, Jack dove behind the sofa or into the bathroom. He even spent an hour dressed in one of Chrissy's old floral dresses and a blonde wig, convinced that Jacqueline would be safer than Jack. When the agents finally returned, cornering him in the living room while he was mid-disguise, the truth came out with a whimper rather than a bang. Mr. Tripper, the agent said, looking at Jack's wig with profound confusion. We just need a character reference. Benjamin Miller is applying for a high-level security clearance with the government. He listed you as his commanding officer's assistant. We just need to know if he's a man of integrity. Jack froze, a pink feather boa draped over his shoulder. Integrity? Bippo? He's the most honest guy I know. He never forgets a debt. The agents left, shaking their heads, leaving Jack to slowly peel off his false eyelashes. The relief was so immense, it felt like a physical weight lifting off the room. You're not going to jail, Chrissy said, hugging him. No, Jack whispered, looking in the mirror. But I think I might need to reconsider my wardrobe. Chapter 4. The Predator in Silk. Just as the FBI scare faded, a new threat emerged, one that didn't wear a badge, but rather a cloud of expensive perfume and a predatory smile. She was an older woman by the standards of the late 20s trio, a glamorous, sophisticated divorcee who lived in the building and had decided that Jack Tripper was the finest piece of steak she had seen in years. It started with a borrowed cup of sugar and ended with Jack being hired as a professional escort. "I need the money for the rent, Janet," Jack argued when he found out Larry had signed him up for a service. "Lana just wants someone to take her to dinner. She's lonely." "She's not lonely, Jack. She's hungry," Janet warned. "And you're the main course." The date was a disaster of epic proportions. Jack spent the evening at a high-end French restaurant trying to hide under the table when he saw Janet and Chrissy dining nearby. He ended up jiggling a waiter's tortoise and accidentally proposing to a Black Forest cake. Lana, however, was undeterred. She cornered him in the laundry room, trapped him in the hallway, and eventually convinced Mr. Furley that Jack was the one pursuing her. The climax came when Lana, convinced Jack was playing hard to get because he was secretly living a gay lifestyle, the cover story they used for Furley, decided to move into the apartment next door. "We're all going to be such good neighbors," Lana purred, as Furley looked on with jealousy. "Jack, we have to do something," Janet whispered as they watched Lana and Furley argue in the hall. "She's going to find out the truth, and then Furley will know you're not. Well, you know." In a desperate move, Jack staged a Romanian dinner party to distract Furley and Lana. He cooked a dish he called chouette à la mode, a French-Romanian gourmet disaster, and forced Janet and Chrissy to perform the Yum Yum song, a traditional folk dance they made up on the spot. "Yum yum yum yum. Hey," they chanted, kicking their legs in the air, while Furley looked on in bewilderment. The plan worked, mostly because Lana realized that living next to three lunatics was less appealing than she had imagined. She turned her sights on Furley instead, realizing that a landlord with a penchant for leisure suits was a much easier target than a chef who danced to made-up Romanian songs. Chapter 5. The Heart of the Matter. As the dust settled on the Lana affair, a quiet evening descended on apartment 201. The three of them sat on the balcony, watching the sun dip below the horizon, turning the sky into a canvas of violet and orange. Jack looked at Janet, then at Chrissy. "You know," Jack said, his voice unusually soft, "I could have moved out. I could have found a place with a normal landlord and no fake identities." Janet looked at him, her eyes reflecting the twilight. "Why didn't you?" Jack smiled, that crooked, charming grin that always made Janet's heart do a little skip she refused to acknowledge. "Where else am I going to find people who will perform a Romanian folk dance just to save my hide?" "It wasn't just for you, Jack," Chrissy said, leaning her head on his shoulder. "It was for us. This is home." In the distance, the neon sign of the Regal Beagle flickered to life. The world outside was loud and complicated, full of Furleys and Lanas and bills to pay. But inside the walls of 201, between the slapstick and the misunderstandings, there was something real. Jack reached out and took Janet's hand with his left, and Chrissy's with his right. "Three's company," the song said. But as the stars began to poke through the California haze, it felt more like family. "Come and knock on our door," Jack hummed softly. "We've been waiting for you," Janet and Chrissy finished in unison. And for the first time in a long time, everything was exactly where it was supposed to be, even Chrissy's other shoe. The end. For now. A Midnight Rendezvous in Santa Monica, based on the Chronicles of Apartment 201. Chapter 1. The Ghost of Landlord's Past. The Santa Monica sun was a relentless gold coin hanging over the Pacific, casting long, amber shadows across the salt-crusted balcony of Apartment 201. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of lemon wax and the bittersweet tang of transition. The Ropers were gone. After years of Stanley's grumbling and Helen's colorful kaftans, the downstairs apartment stood empty, a hollow shell of floral wallpaper and memories of unfixed plumbing. Janet Wood stood in the center of the living room, her hands on her hips, surveyed the chaos. She was the anchor of their strange little ship, a sensible florist with a heart that beat in rhythm with the seasons. Beside her, Chrissy Snow was currently engaged in a battle with a single high-heeled shoe. "If I were a shoe, where would I be?" Chrissy whispered, her brow furrowed in a display of intense concentration that Janet usually found adorable, if slightly exhausting. "Chrissy, we have a garage sale to run," Janet reminded her, though her voice lacked any real bite. "The Ropers left a mountain of junk in that garage, and if we don't sell it, we're going to be short on the rent." Again. "I found it!" Chrissy squealed, pulling a platform heel from under the sofa. "Janet, your system worked. I asked where I'd be if I were a shoe, and I looked down, and there I was." Janet sighed, a small smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Technically, the shoe was there, Chrissy. You were just above it." Their conversation was interrupted by the sliding glass door crashing open. Jack Tripper stumbled in, smelling of yeast and ambition. He was carrying a tray of what looked like golden, puffed clouds. Jack was a whirlwind of slapstick grace, a man who could trip over a flat rug but flip a crepe with the precision of a surgeon. "Behold," Jack announced, narrowly avoiding a collision with the coffee table. "The Bavarian cream pie that will bring world peace. Or at least, keep us from being evicted by whoever the new landlord is." "Jack, the new landlord is already here," Janet said, her expression turning serious. "Larry saw him at the Regal Beagle. His name is Ralph Furley.